because they realized that those were man eaters. They're primitive breed, so they only have one heat cycle. So you only have one shot to breed them, basically.
What?
Yeah, they're primitive.
The whole lifespan?
No, one heat cycle a year.
Oh, I was just like, what? Okay.
One heat cycle a year. You cannot, like, okay, what you see in America, they're not the real thing. That's why we say home of the real damn thing from here. But they're not the real thing. They're not the real thing. I have a real Mongolian Tibetan Mastiff, and she will physically go in for a kill. But with the Tibetans, they like go in. It's like Shark Week. You know what I'm saying? That's literally what it was like. She went and she bit her thigh, and then she went away, but then she went in for another bite.
Back. Yeah, they jump back. Yeah.
She went in for another bite.
Welcome back to the NWA Connie Corso show. We talk absolutely every doggone thing about dogs. If this is your first time here, hit the like button, share, subscribe. We talk to men, women from all over the world about dogs. This is going to be a good one. Hey, Desiree, North American Masters in the house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Everything all right?
Yeah.
Dogs, puppies.
Yes, litters. Whelping a litter right now. A little bit fatigued, but I'm here, able-bodied and willing, and keeping it positive.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm glad you're here. Like I told you, this is an anticipated interview. I've talked to you offline, and I'm ready to share. You share your story here today. Let's just start out about just in general about you and your husband. How did things evolve into the dogs? Your dog history, basically.
Okay, so basically, he's been breeding dogs since he's been about really a kid. I know that sounds crazy, but like he would talk other girls into the neighborhood to let his dog breed or whatever, and then see what the outcome was, and then get like pick a litter back or whatever, and then he's bred like all sorts of things, from like Rottweiler to Akitas to pit bulls, all sorts of things. Right. And my mom, she dibble dabbled in some Dachshunds. We had miniature Dachshunds, and my uncle, he was really big into actually like working line coonhounds, working line beagles. My dad had some beagles. He wasn't too far into it, but he did breed a couple litters. But so we had fun dogs, and we lived on a farm. My dad bred horses. When
where'd you grow up?
Like southern Missouri, I guess you would say.
What about Big Percy?
He grew up in the city.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, like I would say like St. Louis, like Berkeley, and that. So he was like a city guy, and I was more like southern. I guess it would be southern, because yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Down, yeah, it is southern Missouri.
Right.
Sorry.
Y'all right up the road from me. I'm not too
Yeah.
far from y'all. Yeah. So yeah. So dog people from
Yeah, from the
A1.
start, we were
Yeah.
always around dogs, always dealing with dogs, always dealing with animals. But like when we got together, I'm just how I am, how I'm natured. I guess women are just like that naturally. Like I'm just like a born hater, he always says. But so when we got together, he had German Shepherds. So, he was doing his German Shepherd thing and he had American Lions. And I just wanted a Dachshund. And with just wanting a Dachshund turned into two Dachshunds. So like, okay, and then turned into three Dachshunds.
Can't just have one, huh?
Right. And then I ended up getting like 10. So I had every single color. I went around like America. Honestly, I flew around America and I bought like every single color you can think of. And like with him, when we started off with the German Shepherds, when we had the American Lions, we were finding out like the hips and the elbows weren't like really going right. So then we were like, we needed to invest in success, and we have like a good flooring business. So we ended up going and purchasing imported dogs. So when we purchase imported dogs, we're thinking, because with the German Shepherds, everything's really, really political. They want you to do the hips, the elbows, OFA them, wait 2 years to breed them. We did everything like we were supposed to. Vet checked them and everything, of course. But I even went a step further in health certificate, every single puppy I've ever sold. I was working dogs. We got a dog from like the Czech Republic. So we had working line dogs and we had show dogs that we actually imported from Germany. And I had one from Czech Republic and I had one from Ukraine. And very quickly we learned that like people, they like the Shepherds. They said they wanted a working dog. But this like, you've been talking to a lot of people and this day and age, this market, and yes, I do understand back when they created the dog breeds, they created dogs of function. Okay. Dogs of function had a job. Now, any dog that has a job right now, like not only Americans, but like mainly Americans, but like a lot of foreign people, they can't really place those dogs because those dogs don't have a job to do. And then now they're taking the working ability out because they don't want to call a spade,
Yeah.
And
too high drive, you is what you're saying? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because like my uncle, if the dog didn't hunt, it didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
And as a child, I would be like, no, give me that dog. And he's like, no dog's going to come from me that can't work, And that's what the old school dog people believe, that you have to, the dog has to serve its purpose. Okay. So now in this day and age, if you were to make a catch dog or you were to physically have a high drive animal, people don't want that,
Not a pet.
Right. Like, or even if it was like, it's crazy because like people want beagles, but then when beagles go, because they have people around my house that have beagles, and when they go out to do their jobs, like I live on 8 acres, so you'll hear them all around, and then my neighbors, will sometimes be like, they need to put the dogs up. I only have a neighbor across from me and I have my neighbor on the left. but the other neighbor isn't that close. But they do say something, but we're all landowners, so it doesn't make any difference because we're landowners. But you'll hear the beagles go around and it'll set the other dogs off.
Right.
And then my neighbor across the street, he has like some Dutch Shepherd something, I don't know what he's got, but the dog is like barks all the time. So, it'll set his dog off as well. So then, they're like, they would just let the beagles out to hunt. They're doing their job. The dog is of a function and they're doing a job, and people don't want the dog to do their job. And then, that's just the point, but, get back on the dogs. So in this day and age, people don't want the dogs to do their function, So when I had German Shepherds, people like the show lines better because they didn't like the roach back, hindquarters. Right. You know what I'm talking about? Because they're really angulated. They didn't like that. But like the show line dogs had the big, nice square type heads, and they were like the nice big headed German Shepherds. And then the other one, I'm going to put a bunch of pictures up. I'm going to send you some pictures to put on there. So it's, this is interesting, but, and then those are the ones I really like specialize in was the show line, right? And then I got a couple working lines. So I put some working in with the show line to kind of correct the roach back, the angulated ones, because people didn't like that. They wanted the straight top line. Right. But they didn't want the angulation. But with that came the working line and the lower drive. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna cross the working line with the show line to make an even keel dog, Right. But then people like that the show line knew when to turn it off and when to turn it on. But then some of them would come out high drive and like wild, And then I tell people like they need a job to do, That's their job to protect. So if you don't have a job for them, or you don't take that energy out, or you don't take them on a walk, or you don't let them out in your backyard, or, also another thing that people don't understand is like you can get the best genetics dogs possible. You can import the best, have the best. They're OFA, hips and elbows, do everything right with the dog. And then the owner will overfeed the dog, or they'll over-exercise the dog, or they'll do, I had one lady, she used to hike up the mountains. Or, like I would tell her, you don't go running a marathon with a 3-year-old, and that's with having a puppy. Your dog wants to, they want to please you, but he's not, his bones and everything hasn't grown together until 18 months. Right. So everything is lax and growing together until 18 months. So you can actually have soft tissue injuries. You can have soft tissue damage from, I've had people with, what's it called? Trainers. They would send their dog to a trainer because they couldn't contain, the dog would be high drive. Right. And then the trainer, when they were training the German Shepherds, they would have them jumping on and off high things, like high, like all sorts of things, Right. And then like the dog would get like a soft tissue injury, and then they would be like, well, my dog's hips are doing this or doing that, and then I would always tell people that had like the slick surfaces, like the hard, I'm getting all into health and wellness right here. But like if you have like slick surfaces in your flooring, okay, you don't have no carpeting, you have all tile or whatever, so you got to think about, this is Mastiff, Shepherds, any dogs, period. Big dog, yeah. Right, any big dogs, small dogs, it doesn't matter. Right. So when they're born, we do everything to make sure that they have a good footing in their box, so they're they're not slipping and sliding, and they actually get their checks with the vet to see if they got luxating vitellis. So that's where they'll rotate their arm and it'll pop in and out if it's luxating. So if it's luxating, that means it could possibly have a hip problem later on. So you don't want those puppies, you know. I don't breed into dogs like that. I wouldn't sell a dog like that, you know. So that's why you always get anything checked before you breed it, period. So even with the best quality German Shepherds, I would find that people would always mess their dogs up because they would either give them too much high protein dog food. They always want to have the biggest, best shepherds. They would overfeed the dog. They wouldn't take the dog out and walk the dog. And another thing, they would just throw it in a kennel and it would be in the kennel all day and then expect the dog to listen, you know?
Right.
And another thing is you have to exercise your dog. Your dog can actually physically become easty westy, or you can have flattened pasterns by not feeding with a raised feeder.
Give your dog the best start possible. We offer proven tools, products, and supplements backed by our real world experience and our passion for healthy dogs.
And they become easty westy from lack of exercise to where they cannot gain their footing. So they can't gain their footing if they're always on a slick surface and there's no carpeting and they're not physically taking them outside to walk in the grass, you know. So I understand you're potty training a dog and you're trying to make sure that your dog is healthy and you're doing everything right. And like everybody wants these slick surfaces in their house, but I would always have to like go into the health portion and I give everybody a folder to explain that you have to exercise your dogs on a grassy surface where they could gain their footing, because you got to think about, I don't know, those of you that have worked in the fast food industry, when they say you got to get the shoes for cruise and you go in there with the wrong shoes
and you know slide and slipping.
Yes, it's like on grease. Okay, it's like you go back there where the cooks are or the dishwasher and you're like, oh god, I'm sliding all over the place. Right. That's what your German Shepherd is. That's what your Mastiff is doing. Right. You know, when they come running in, they're going to be sliding all over the floor. They can't physically gain their footing. So it's like they're always walking on ice. They're always slipping. They're always sliding. So then their joints get all like stiff, you know? Right. And this is the honest God truth, because you can do your research and it showed that dogs in a kennel basis, where like we have horse stall mats in all our kennels. Right. So that's why you don't see we have any hygromas, and we have horse stall bedding in all our dogs. None of them are outside. They're all in a building, you know, a heated cooled building. Okay. So, you know, they don't get any sores or anything like that. And they're on horse stall mats. And they have the wood chips, so they're always gaining their footing. And then when we clean up, we actually like take them out and put them outside while we're cleaning up. And, you know, they're in the grass. They're moving in the grass. Yeah. And then I give the folder to the people that actually says that dogs in a kennel setting that are fed, like it has the whole entire history and all the reading and the facts about it, they have less chances to gain hip dysplasia because environmental, because not only are they fed like 1 or 2 times a day, you know, they're fed appropriately, but they're being exercised appropriately and they're gaining their footing appropriately versus sliding all over the place. Yeah. So I've quickly learned that with German Shepherds, that people don't want a high drive dog. People, you know, they don't know how to take care of their dogs. And like, honestly, I mean, it's sad but true. I'm sure you probably heard the same in the Corso world. You know, you can give them a perfectly perfect Corso and then they can feed
Something
it too
happen. Yeah.
much.
Yeah. You got, yeah.
They can have an injury, and then once they have an injury and that ligament, not really ligament, but they could tear a ligament. They could tear I forgot what it's called. Their ACL.
Yeah.
So that's why
which is common in the breed. Yeah.
Yes, big dog breeds. And so that's why I always do my preliminaries on my dogs anywhere between 6 to 9 months, because I learned that with German Shepherds, like I literally kept 3 German Shepherds until they were 2 years of age to breed, to OFA them before I bred them. And then 2 came back bad. And then I went to the breeder and I said, you got to give me new dogs. Some gave me new dogs, some people didn't.
Yeah.
Because they don't, they don't go by their contracts, and then pretty much when you import dogs, you're pretty much like out of luck. It is what it is. It is what it is, unless you know the people and they were good. And then, also, I was imported a dog with totally on the sideline, but like with 1 testicle, you can't breed that dog.
No.
And he's like, oh, it's gonna drop. Didn't drop. Again, being ethical, you don't breed into that, because there's other things that people don't tell you that totally, again, health and wellness right here. But if you have 1 dog that's a cryptorchid in the litter, that whole litter still can throw a cryptorchid, because it's genetically in there somewhere, males or females. But they're not going to tell you. They're just going to sell it that litter, But yeah. So he was like, it's going to drop. It's going to drop. Paid all this money for the dog. And it didn't. But I was smart enough. And that dog was going to be a show dog. Yeah. And his litter mates went on to be show dogs. And he won a lot of international shows with the other litter mates. But
that's why I was going to ask you, what kind of competitions were you guys into?
I went to like the German Shepherd Club of America shows. I didn't really do confirmation with AKC. I did confirmation shows, and I did do a little bit of bite work with the dogs. I didn't do any titling with the dogs with the bite work. I just played with that, because I used to let everybody come to my house and see the shepherds. And when you would physically show them the drive, people would get scared, because I would say, come to my house without me here, without me coming out the door, without them seeing me. And then I would have the dogs out and I would say, walk up to the cage, because I've had people say, well, your dogs are acting calm. How do I know they're going to protect me? Right. So, I would say it, I knew that whenever I would sell German Shepherds, I would line them up like in hour increments. So I would have person after person after person come, to my house to pick up their dogs. Or like, when they were like canvassing me to see whether they would want to go to me or somebody else. And I know that's going to sound crazy, but I would tell people, go look at other people's kennels first, then come to me.
Yeah.
Then come to me, because like what's my customer is my customer is my customer, as simple as that. What's good, I believe is what's for me is for me, and what's for you is for you.
That's true.
Yeah. And then I hate when people are like, oh, well, let me go and look at so-and-so down the line and then we'll call you back. I've only had 2 people walk away from me not buy German Shepherds. And one was because like the dog, it's a like side story, but like the dog like hit me in my knee and like hurt my kneecap.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I was like, oh. Yeah. I was being totally dramatic, but yeah, she was like a little bit excited, and I got out there with her, and like, basically she hit me in my kneecap, and I was like, oh my Lord. But they were like, again, that high drive animal, they didn't understand, But anyway, so I would have people come, before I was there, and I would say like, they would see the dogs do what they do, be dogs, protect. Right. And then I would walk out and I would be like, hey, settle down. and then they would settle down, and they would be like, oh, okay, okay, okay. And then because I would do that with different people, you know, and then whenever they would come and pick their puppy up, they would be like, oh, well, let me go and see the dogs again. You know, I want to make a video or whatever they wanted to do, because I had the same exact letouts. Well, at first we started in St. Louis County with the Shepherds. And then we moved in here 10 years ago. You know, I had the Shepherds here. So, you know, when they came, to show them the difference, you know, that I just wasn't just pulling their leg or blowing smoke up their butt. I was like, you know, come here when I'm here. And the dogs weren't barking and going crazy. They were just like, hey, okay, it's cool. You're here. I'm calm, cool, and collective. So, I mean, that was a difference. But like the working line dogs were like on 10. You know, they were on 10 all the time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so I started weeding the working line dogs out, and I just kept the show lines. And I did do some shows. I won an SV something. No. I won a V1, and I won a trophy and a medal at a show. And it got real political, you know.
Oh, I bet,
Because I didn't know anything. You know, I know it's gonna sound crazy, but like I'm just like a jump on the horse type of person, you know. Just jump on the horse.
Right.
And you know, we had horses, so like again, I had no fear. I had no fear showing dogs. So I thought, you know, I was a breeder, not really breeder, but like, you know, I bought my dogs. So I handled my own dogs. Okay. And then I learned you pay a handler.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
But some of my dogs weren't really comfortable with the handler. So when they went to stack the dogs, you know, like they have to physically run their hand along the back and grab they have to check their teeth in the show. They have to check their teeth, run their hand down their back. Sorry. And then check their testicles. So whenever they would run their hand down their back, the dog would like flinch, or they would check their testicles and the dog would be like this, you know? And if you had a reactive dog, they could bite the judge. You know, you have a reactive dog, they have to be able to play in their mouth and grab their teeth, you know?
Right.
You know, and show their bite. They have to be able to see their bite. And they're looking at all these things to make sure that your dog is physically what the standard is, you know? So, you know, I did do a little bit of that. But, you know, Dachshunds, they were just play dogs. You know, I'm not going to lie. They were like companions. They were fun. I loved them. They were cute. They were easy to sell. Both of them were very profitable. I had a good following. I always sold my puppies, but I felt like I was putting more time, energy, and effort into the Dachshunds than I was getting out. I was always selling them, but you know, I collected them all around United States. And it's funny because I met Jack Black on the plane. But anyways, when I was getting one of the dogs, but I was bringing it back, and it was an Isabella dog, and it's like a silver color dog. And then I bought like a blue color dog. I was like the first person in this area, I would say, because I went to Florida to get the colors. I was the first person in this area with colors. So with doing that, you know, the people only wanted the dogs that had the crazy colors. They didn't want the black and tans. They did like the chocolates, but they didn't like the black and tans, and they really didn't like the piebalds. They liked the blue merles, the lilacs, the English creams, you know, and then they didn't like the reds. They hated the brindles. So anything that was the standard that AKC really liked, they didn't like.
Yeah,
so
they like color. It's still that day that. I see where this is going. I'm seeing it formulating.
You know, but they didn't like the standard.
Yeah.
They didn't like the standard. Okay. So with that, you know, you kind of had the knowledge. You know, like you don't breed dogs for 20. I've been breeding dogs for 20 years. My husband breeding dogs for 30 years. So combined, we have 30 years of dog breeding knowledge, you know? So
we have 50 years.
Yeah, 50. Yeah. Sorry. Well, 30 for him, 20 for me,
20 for
50
you.
combined.
Yeah.
So, you know, with me, I end up going down a wormhole, you know. I'll find something and like when I'm whelping litters and I'll just research it, find it, look at it, try to find the best, try to see who's fake, try to see who's real, make sure that no, I'm not getting scammed. You know, when you're importing dogs, there's a lot of scammers.
Yeah.
So like, you know, we were importing shepherds, so I had to make sure that I wasn't getting scammed. But like I said, I was breeding Dachshunds, making sure that I know it's nutty. People are gonna be like, "Well, she was just breeding Dachshunds. Who cares?" But like, I was trying to preserve my colors. Okay, so that's where I found people were paper hanging dogs. Man, I had like I thought I had ironclad contracts to where like I was like, you couldn't breed your dog, you couldn't do this. They had to check like 10 million boxes on this contract, or you weren't getting a dog from me, you know. And same thing with the North American Mastiffs. If I seen anybody had another dog of another breed, like a Corso, or I know not to step on your toes or anything, but if they had like a Corso or English Mastiff or any big type dog, and I know it's kind of sounds crazy again, but like I would do my research. I would look on their page, and if they had like a family member, I would look on their page, because this whole world is out
So
here is
what are
online
you
nowadays.
saying? You wouldn't sell to them if they had a different type
Yes.
dog? Okay.
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
yes.
All right. So,
So,
why
like,
why
again,
we here at this point? Who idea was it to come up with this dog? Percy's or yours? Or both?
it was Percy's, because like the dogs that you see nowadays, like people wanted something different. That's why they came to me for the Dachshunds. Okay. So like they wanted pretty Dachshunds, but they wanted a protective dog, like a German Shepherd, but they wanted it to have the intelligence when it's around their kids, turn it off and on, you know, and be a lovable dog, but yet they weren't ready for the working dog. But they wanted a pretty dog. They wanted a big headed, no matter what, because like some German Shepherds, they have the skinny, nasty, ugly heads. So like that's why I did the working line dogs, because they had the big square muzzles, you know. So like if they didn't have the big square muzzles, I didn't keep them to breed. You know, I didn't keep back anything like that. So like I had the biggest, I would say, show line dogs, you know, the biggest, the nicest in Missouri, I would say. And when I got out of that, you know, people were like, hey, well, what about this? What about that? But basically, people wanted a big headed dog that had intelligence, that was good with the family, going to protect you, not too over the top, but they wanted it to be pretty, you know?
Right.
They didn't want them black and tans. You know, with the Dachshunds, they didn't want the black and tans. They liked the Merles. You know, they love the Merles. They like the blues. They like the Isabellas. The piebalds, they really didn't like that much, you know, but like the piebalds, I would always discount them a little bit cheaper with the Dachshunds. And, you know, to me, I would prefer to sell, my normal market is pet owners.
Right. So was it would it be safe to say it would be more like a large size companion dog, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And then I know I talked to you before and you used the word and you said you wanted it when y'all was doing this, you wanted a timeless dog.
Yeah. Okay. So like I said, like I'm a weirdo. So I just go down wormholes and like do a lot of research on everything, whether it's health and wellness, anything about a dog, I'm gonna learn it. Okay. And he's more of like the the genotype. You know, he's more about looking at the dog, studying the dog, you know, like what the dog is, what color, you know, its mentality and stuff like that. But I'm more like book learning, health learning, medicines, everything like that, marketing. So like when we came together, it was like the clash of the titans. You know what I'm saying? Like what he, lacked, like I added to it, because like I realized that, what people wanted was not what people were giving them, and
Let me
so
let me stop you right here because I got to ask a question. Just
okay.
because I don't know how difficult that is. I don't mess with my wife's house a lot. I don't. If she doing something, I know I don't have no say on the color of anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when we doing stuff together, trying to figure out things as husband and wife, how difficult was that to finally get that vision? How long did it take? We going this route?
Well, like I don't like to, I was a people pleaser,
Uh-huh.
So like I knew I was still selling Datsuns. I knew I still was profitable with the Datsuns.
Uh-huh.
And I knew the German Shepherds, they were political. I would jump all the hurdles with the people with the German Shepherds, no matter how many testing, no matter how much you did for people, no matter how much you bent over backwards, they would still find something wrong with their dog, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm like, well, the Mastiff community, they know that, hey, you got a big dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
And big dogs come with big dog problems, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So, like with German Shepherds, they would want a perfect dog, but not do everything perfect,
Mm-hmm.
And they were like getting their dogs hip checked at like 6 to 9 months and saying, oh, my dog's not walking right. And oh, it's got, easty westy and oh, flattened pasterns. And I would do like the health and tell them, raised feeder, you're not exercising them, this, and that. And they were just so political. Everybody wanted to be perfect. Everybody wanted a perfect German Shepherd. And I was like, this honestly, I was still selling them, I was still selling them good, but like, you can't please everybody,
No, you can't.
And people with Shepherds are perfectionists,
Mm-hmm.
And with Datsuns, people just want colors. They just want something to love them. They didn't care.
Right.
Just give me something to love, give me something to have. And then what's funny is like, no matter, I've learned that too with breeding dogs for so long. Like I would sell somebody a Dachshund, like, cause you really can't tell with the Dachshund how big or little they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
You can see get the mother and father, they're going to be the size of the mother, the size of the father in between. So, and then it would, you'd be like, okay, well, it might be like 10 pounds. Sometimes that dog, they'd overfeed that dog be 15 pounds. Like, oh my God, I got a 15-pound Dachshund, but I love him to death,
Mm-hmm.
So that dog grows into the idea. It grows onto the owner because they love that dog.
It's a family member. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So then there's people that get these dogs and they want the dog for a lifetime, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I wanted to make a healthier dog where it would at least live 10 years of age. And then I knew that people wanted just really something pretty,
Mm-hmm.
but then they wanted something that when somebody's going to knock on the door, because the average person with the bite work and everything that I've been through, like with dogs and breeding dogs and having German Shepherds and
Mm-hmm.
and other breeds of dogs, that a dog, in order to actually attack somebody, that's a trained response. Okay.
Yeah, that's nothing for sure. When people are always saying, I know Billy gonna get somebody, that's not true. Yeah.
Yes. Because what's funny is I had 2 incidences. One that I just looked on Facebook today and I seen the lady. So I exported a dog, sorry, to United Kingdom. And so the cops came in because the guy, no, first he had a Ring camera on the inside of his house, and the intruder came in and he said, I can't believe Koba didn't attack the guy, right? And he said, well, I heard on the Ring camera, what's funny is he had a bully from a nationally known kennel. I'm not going to name names, but like he had a bully and he had one of my dogs also. So he was like, because Koba and the bully were always like, when you have two male dogs, you always fight, So they were fighting for dominancy. And he's like, Koba was more, I don't know how to put it. He was more protective, So they were like, well, I can't believe Koba didn't attack the guy. And I was like, you have to train your dogs to attack. They don't know. He was just barking, And to where like he had him on camera and he was like, well, he was just barking and the intruder, because the people were trying to rob him because they knew he was a big dog breeder and they knew he had money, so they came in to rob him literally, but he wasn't home. And so Koba was out where the bully was put up and, so they didn't fight. And it was funny because he said that they kept saying on the camera, shoot the dog, shoot the dog, shoot the dog. But the dog wasn't reactive because he wasn't trained to bite, And there are some dogs that are trained that will bite and go in for the bite, but that's few and far between. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, because I don't go off on a side note, but like I imported 3 Tibetan Mastiffs, okay? Because I was going to breed them. And my female will go in for a bite, no matter what. She'll go in for the bite. She's from Mongolian lions. So she's from, I know it's totally side story. Oh,
well, that dog, I bet that was a badass dog, I bet.
I still have her.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do. Okay. But like, I only let her out at night. I only let her out at night. And then I learned guardian working line breeds versus, I could breed those dogs, but could I breed those dogs responsibly? And then when I give somebody one of their puppies, my 2 males, they were Chinese lines, okay? So like she's from Mongolian. She's a Mongolian line. So they physically went up to the mountains of Mongolia in Tibet.
They can't be around any other dogs, right?
No. Well, actually, they're good with my dogs.
Okay.
It's like I let them out to roam with one of the females that just had puppies. But you could see in some of my YouTube videos, when I first got them, they would be running around the puppies. They would be protective of the puppies. So they're not a reactive dog. They're, I got them because I had boar goats. And I had African boar goats. So the moral of it was I wanted them to be a herd protector of the boar goats from the other outside elements, to be out there with the goats. So that was, again, I do my research. I see a cute little dog, as women do, and I bought the dog without telling them. I bought the male without telling him because he was cute, lovable, and I was like, oh man, I've always wanted a Tibetan. And just knowing dog breeding, a long time ago when we bred our shepherds, we actually AI'd this guy's Tibetan Mastiffs, and I've seen them, I like them, they were pretty. And, I know a lot of people in the dog world, and I seen it and I loved it and I liked it. So I bought it. I know it sounds crazy. And I bought it. And then when I bought it, then they said, no more dogs coming into the country. They put like COVID, They were like, either you, and the objective was eventually breed them. So it was like either I bring another one in or I'm not going to ever bring one in type basis. Okay. So I told the lady that I got the male from, my friend wanted another pup. Well, he wanted a puppy also. So it's cheaper. What's actually almost cheaper that when import dogs to you, it goes by shipping crate cost. Okay.
Mhm.
So you can physically put like 2 puppies on a crate and
Right.
get a package deal, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
So that's why I asked her to give me, find me a good female, find me a good female that can ship out, because his friend wanted a dog. So we could like share the shipping cost to bring it in. Because like I told my husband, I said, if we're going to get a male, a female for him, it's now or never, And that's where she was like, the deep red Mongolian is a sought after lines, and the Mongolian lines are from Tibet. They're the purest of the pure, the isolated dogs in the mountains. That's what they say,
Right.
the isolation. Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever they came to rebuild the Tibetan breed, they went back up in the mountains. There's a documentary on it because I watched it, and they collected all the dogs up in the mountains to bring back to China, wherever, to bring back the Tibetan breeds,
Okay.
because again, I know I'm jumping forward, but like, you can Google this. They just recently sold another really expensive dog, but until last year, I think it was, the highest, most expensive dog was sold in China was a Tibetan, right? It was
Yeah.
like for so many billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So we'll jump back to this later. But anyways, so everybody jumped on the bandwagon, and everybody got Tibetan Mastiffs. And everybody thought, hey, we're going to breed Tibetan Mastiffs, right? And it didn't work out for them because people didn't realize they're working dogs.
Too much. Yeah.
Too much.
Now,
So then they all set them free. I'm serious. They set them free in Russia and China. So those dogs that were getting millions upon thousands of dollars, that had all this, was worth all this money,
they let them go.
people ruined it because of marketing.
Right.
And they ruined the breed. Because everybody, I'm serious.
Yeah.
You can look it up. That's why I got my Mastiffs at a lower, my Tibetans at a lower price, because physically nobody wanted them anymore.
Yeah.
Because they realized that those were man eaters. You cannot, what you see in America, they're not the real thing. That's why we say home of the real damn thing from here. But they're not the real thing. They're not the real thing. I have a real Mongolian Tibetan Mastiff.
Right.
And she will physically go in for a kill. She will go in for a bite.
How big is that dog in person?
In person, they literally, when I shave them, and I had to know, because I have to sedate them to shave them, because they're a primitive breed. So people don't understand this either. Like, when you get into a dog, you have to do your research. They're primitive breed. So they only have one heat cycle. So we have one shot to breed them, basically.
What?
Yeah. They're
just
primitive.
The whole lifespan?
No, one heat cycle a year.
Oh, I was just like, what? Okay.
One heat cycle a year.
Yeah.
Where most dogs, they come in anywhere to 6 months, 6 to 9 months generally, or 4 to 6 to 9 months. They come in 2 times a year. But like my Tibetan female, she comes in 1 time a year. Every time, the same time of year. She comes in October, and she's going on 4 years old. I've never been able to get a litter out of her. But then, whenever she, oh, it's terrible. She attacked my friend, and we were shaving her, and she didn't know who I was, and she bit my foot, but she was under sedation. So she didn't know it wasn't her fault, but she physically attacked my friend and tore her thigh. When she tore her thigh, that's when I was like, and then after that one guy was saying you had them on here, like they're not like a working line dog where they bite and hold, you know, like
Right.
they go in, like it's crazy. It's crazy because like when I know this because she like got onto my foot. She didn't lock onto she locked, she shook, and then she let go and ran away from me. Right. But when she got onto my friend, I was rehoming. It's totally here nor there. I was giving her one of my retired dogs. And I told her, I said, hold on, let me get you a leash. Right. And people are gonna be like, man, this lady is like, I don't want to go sideways. But like just explain to people the difference between a working line and a protective breed. And what people need to understand is dogs that were bred for a purpose. They were bred to protect the people of Mongolia from, coyotes, whatever's out there in the mountains, whatever's going to get their family. So physically, they're patrolling the area. They're patrolling their farm animals. So if there's an animal that comes on your property, they're going to tear it apart. Okay. Yeah. So that's why they work as a pack. That's why I got two. They work as a pack to subdue the animal, okay? And that's why they have that fur where if any other animal gets their neck or anything, and they have one of the highest PSIs on their mouth also. Right. It's another thing I learned. But when they go in to bite, they bite, then they let go. Then they go back in. Right. They don't bite and shake and shake and shake and hold like a working dog. A working dog will bite, shake and shake and shake and hold. The shepherds will grab a sleeve, because I used to do like a little bit of sleeve work. They were trained to bite the sleeve. So it was like when you take that sleeve off, they're like, oh, it's a person. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Sport let them keep chewing on that sleeve to get that energy out, right? Because when they take that bite, they're like, oh God, they got all that aggression. You know what I'm saying? They got to take that energy out and they got to calm down. But with the Tibetans, they like go in. It's like Shark Week. You know what I'm saying? That's literally what it was like. She went and she bit her thigh and then she went away, but then she went in for another bite. Back. Yeah, they jump back. Yeah. When she went in for another bite, my daughter was there and she was like, hey. They were named Landlord and Landlady, and the other one's a lion. So she was like, Landlady. And she like grabbed her and stopped her from taking that second bite. So that's when I've learned that dogs have a purpose. You can't take that purpose away from them. Yeah. That a normal person does not need a Tibetan Mastiff. Right. That they're bred for purpose. And you can't a normal person can't contain that dog. They're a one owner dog. Right. I'm for real. They're one owner dog. Yeah, it's like I got a couple Central Asian Shepherds around here. They like that too. They don't like strangers. They do not like strangers. No. Yeah. So if I were to rehome her to somebody, she would probably attack them. Yeah. I know this. Yeah. I know this. My vet told me this. I know this. But then my Chinese line males, they would just bark and hold, and hold, because I would have where my neighbor would come up to give me onions, or he's he has a little farm, where he grows tomatoes and stuff. And when they were 6 months, they were still beasts then, but I would have them out because I really didn't understand the seriousness of it. You know what I'm saying? I just thought they were cute little play dogs, cute little fuzzy little play dogs. But the males would bark and hold. They wouldn't go in for a bite. But the female, she physically chased him all the way out my driveway over onto his side. It's funny. I hope he watches this. And he knows this too. Over onto his property. to where he had to close his gate to get her to stop. And he called me and said, come get your dog or I'm going to shoot it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because here it's law of the land. So if your dog gets on their property, they have the right to shoot.
Oh,
it.
yeah. Missouri.
She was only a 6-month-old dog.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, I didn't understand the severity of the breed and the severity of the animal and the severity of what I bought, because I just thought it was a cute, lovable, fluffy dog. Like, to be honest, because when they were little, I'm like, oh, it looks like a little Lorax, you know, the little cartoon Lorax. And I just had to have one. So, like, I bought it, and yeah, she's a real deal. But you know, and she, like, you know, she would nip my neighbor, she would nip my my brother-in-law, but she never really bit us. And she never really, like, bit anybody that came on her property for real until that day. But you know, I physically told her, I said, let me grab a leash so I can get this dog I was rehoming to her. I neutered him and she was coming for this dog. And so she put her hand in her cage to pet her, right? Big no, you know?
Yeah.
And my daughter was in there refilling her water, and she didn't snap the cage all the way, you know? And so when she hit the fence, she rocked the fence. And then when my daughter was filling up her water buckets, and she was in there, you know, my daughter was in there, and I went in my house to grab a leash for the dog. And when I came out, my daughter was like, no, pulling the dog off the girl.
Right.
And I was like, why didn't you latch the cage?
Right.
I told my friend, it's funny because she can attest for this.
Yeah.
I said, because she said, oh, I always wanted one of them dogs. And I said, you know, honestly, because, you know, I have homeowners. I have homeowners and stuff. And I said, well, when they have puppies, I'll give you one. And she's like, that's going to be a hard pass for me.
Yeah, right. I bet.
She's like, that's going to be a hard pass for me on that one.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I thought, like, you know, because, like, I rehomed like 3 of my dogs with her. So she has 3 of my dogs right now, 3 of my older dogs. So I rehomed 3 of my dogs.
What kind of dogs? The North American?
Yeah, the North American Mastiffs.
Okay.
So, like, she works with me with the rescue, because I do have a rescue.
Oh, you got a rescue too? Okay.
Yeah.
Give your dog the best start possible. We offer proven tools, products, and supplements backed by our real world experience and our passion for healthy dogs.